Today we're going to learn a solo arrangement of Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. This song was voted on over at my Patreon page, where every month I consolidate a list of suggestions from the patrons and we do a big vote to see what the month's tutorial will be. So if you want to check that out, as well as download a copy of this tab, please check out the link down below. Thank you again to all my patrons. It's really because of you guys I'm able to make these tutorials. But let's go ahead and dive into Black Hole Sun, which, by the way, I love this song. It's so much fun to play on the uke, and I really think you're going to have a good time with it. It's a little challenging, and you'll see why as we start. There's a lot of bar chords. When we look at the very beginning of the song, it starts something like this, and we can see the first two words of the tune are in and my, and they're both going to be on 7 of the E and the G strings, respectively. So all that I do here is bar across the 7th fret with my index. Going now into the first full bar, I'm going to play 7 on the C, E, and A together. And that's the word eyes. Now you'll notice there are several 7s played, so we're just going to hold this bar. But you'll notice that these notes don't have words with them. It's a really important note that as you're playing this arrangement, anytime there's a lyric, you want to play that note more pronounced. And anytime there's a lack of a word, you're going to play it a little bit more quietly. And the reason for that is the notes that don't have words with it are more what we call harmony notes. They're meant to be more in the background, like the band playing. So to start here, I play in my eyes, and then I play 7, 7, and 7 on the E and the A together. And then I play 7 on the E for the word in, and 7 on the G for the word dis. And then we go on to measure 2 here, and start with the second half of the word disposed, posed. And we're going to take this bar, and we're going to slide it down to 5. Then we're going to take our middle finger, add it on the 6th fret of the E string, and our ring finger here on the 7th fret of the A. It really helps when you're doing these bars to get right up next to that fret wire. If you're more in the middle, it can be very difficult and you can get some buzzes. By just going right up into that wire, it makes it much easier to get a good tone. And we're going to pluck the C, E, and A strings together. So the 5 on the C, 6 on the E, and 7 on the A. And that's the word posed, of disposed. Then we're going to pluck the G string, C string, and then the E and A together, holding that. And you'll notice there are no words there, so play it a little bit softer. Then we're going to play in and then dis of disguise. For the word in, we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to move it from the 7 on the A string to the 7 on the E string. And that frees up the A string to now be on 5 with the bar. So that's 7 on the E and 5 on the A. So that we can hear this, let's go and listen to this first whole stanza, starting with in my eyes, in disposed, in dis of disguise. Should sound something like this, really, really slow with me saying the words. In my eyes, in disposed, in dis. Now we go on to the next section here. Disguise as no one knows. And this is actually my favorite measure of the whole song. I just think it sounds so cool. To start here on guise of disguise, we're going to come off this chord here, which we still have the bar all the way across 5, and we leave it there to start on measure 3. And then we're going to take our ring finger and place it on the 7th fret of the A string. So we have this 5, 5, 5, 7. And we're going to pluck all 4 strings. And that's guise of disguise. And then we're going to stretch our pinky up here to 10 on the A. The goal is to keep the bar there, which that can be a very big stretch. And so this is sort of like yoga, you know, it's like touching your toes. You might not be able to do it today, but that doesn't mean you can't do it someday. So what I recommend is if this is a big stretch for you, just try to hold it for a moment, shake out the hand, take lots of breaks, but eventually you'll be able to get it. We'll play that 10 for the word as. And then on the word no, we go back to just barred across the 5th fret and pluck all 4 strings. Then we're going to play 7 on the A with the ring finger for the word one. And then we jump all the way down to an E minor chord, which is going to be ring finger on the 4th fret of the C string, middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. And we pluck all 4 strings. As I just mentioned, this first measure of this new stanza, measure 3, is my favorite of the whole song. I just think it sounds so cool to get that disguise as no one knows. So it takes a little bit of practice to get it comfortable. But it's really cool. Now you'll notice all of those had lyrics with it, so we play all those notes nice and pronounced. But now as we go on to measure 4, we're going to play the 0 on the G, the 4 on the C, and the 3 on the 2 on the E and the A. It's still part of that E minor. Nice and quiet because they're filler notes. But then we're going to play the word hides, which is just 3 on the E. Then we're going to take our index finger off the A string, play open on the A, and that's the word the. And as we go now into measure 5, we go to the word face, and it's going to play an E flat chord. And this is the unique sound of Black Hole Sun, is it's going between a few different keys. And this E flat chord, I think, is a really great example of the kind of crunchy sound that it creates, because when you go to it, it's really dissonant but beautiful. So that's going to be measure 5. We're going to just strum through that chord. I'm using my thumb here to pluck through all 4. And that's the word face. To play that chord, middle finger on 3 of the C, ring finger on 3 of the E, and index here on 1 of the A. Then we're going to play open G, 3 on the C as filler notes. Then I'm going to play 3 on the A, and the way I want to do this for the word lies is to take my pinky on my fretting hand and add it to the 3 on the A. And the reason for that is I can keep the chord sustaining through this. And then I take that pinky off for the 1, for the word the. And then at the very end of this measure, we go to a D sus chord. And this is a pretty difficult chord. The way that I like to play it is I actually like to leave my ring finger here on the 3 of the E, which is from the E flat chord. And I'm going to take my middle off and my index off. And then I'm going to add my index barred, but only partially barred. You'll notice how I'm coming off the A string to keep it open, so that I have my 2, 2, 3, 0 that way. Now, if this is really difficult for you because it's a weird, fingering, another way that you can play this chord that works really well is index finger here on 2 of the G, and just take your middle finger and place it on 2 of the C, leaving that ring finger on 3 of the E string, and that works great too. And we strum through that whole thing again with our thumb. And so let's hear this whole stanza now, starting with measure 3 with disguise. So we have disguise as no one knows, hides the face, lies and snake. Lies the snake, excuse me, not and snake. These are weird words. It's a Soundgarden song, but lies the snake. And you see you can play the D that way or this way, as you'll see me do it when I perform it. So now we move on to measure 6 here, and measure 6 will show how this whole section is going to repeat. Measure 7 and 8 are the first ending, and we'll actually kind of repeat at this point. But not quite yet. We've got to play through measures 6, 7, and 8. 6 is going to still be holding that D sus chord, and then we're going to play 2 on the G, 2 on the C, and then that 3 that was on the E string, we're going to move it down to 2 on the E. So if you were playing it with 3 fingers, you do it that way. If you're doing the bar that I was doing, you just take the ring finger off. Again, these notes should be quieter because there's no words associated with it. Then we're going to play 3 on the E string and open on the E for the words and the. So those pretty straightforward. You can use your middle finger there or your ring finger. As long as you don't use your index finger, it'll be good for the 3. And the reason is the next part here, we go sun in my disgrace. We're going to play, for sun, index finger on 2 of the C string. And then we're going to take our middle finger and add it to 2 on the A string. So that's sun in. And then on the word my, what we do is we take this index finger and we move it to the 1 on the E, leaving our middle finger here on 2 of the A string. You'll see my hand kind of pivots from an angle to more straight up and down at this point. And for the word my, I pluck the G, E, and A strings together, not touching the C string. Then I play the open A for dis of disgrace. And then on grace of disgrace, we're going to jump to an A flat chord. It looks really crazy and complicated, but it's actually really straightforward because if you know how to play a G chord, it's a G chord just moved up 1 fret. So that's our index finger here on the 3rd fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 4th fret of the E, and our middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the A. Play through that. And so just that little run there on measure 7 of sun in my disgrace is something like sun in my disgrace. And then the end of this is going to be some filler. We're going to play open on the C. So we don't have to take our whole hand off. Just take the index finger off. And then you place it back on the 3. And then you play 4 on the E for filler. And then the very last 2 notes here on measure 8 are the same as the very beginning of the song, only now the words are boiling instead of in my. So we move our bar all the way back up to 7, and then we play 7 on the E and 7 on the G. And from this point, it resets back to measure 1. So let's go ahead and hear measures 6, 7, and 8 with that first ending before we do that repeat. It should sound something like this, with me saying the words as well. And the sun in my disgrace, boiling. Now, at this point, we go back to the beginning of the song, but you'll notice that there are a little repeat marker when you look at the tab on measure 1. You go back to measure 1 and you play eyes, and then summer, and you'll see the lyrics have duplicate for the second run through here for summer, and now stretch. Neath the black, the sky looks dead. Call my name through the, and then cream. And all. So that got us through measure 6. Now we jump all the way to measure 9. Measure 7 and 8 had the first repeat marker, but measure 9 has that second repeat marker. So at this point, we go to measure 9 and we play Hear You Scream Again. And what's cool about measure 9 is it's actually exactly the same as measure 7. It's exactly identical. And then as we go into measure 10, it gets a little bit different. We're going to play the same little filler off the A flat chord. So open C, 3 on the C, 4 on the E. But then instead of going back to it, you'll see there's this little strum marker. So at the end of measure 10, the all X with the little V symbol, that little V symbol means an up strum. And then you'll see in measure 11, it's the little 3/4 square, that's a down strum. So it's really with the end of 10 into 11, it's going up, down, up, down, up, down. And it's all X's, which means you just mute your strings. And that's it. So to mute the strings, just lightly touch them with multiple fingers. If you touch them too lightly, it might sound like this. If you touch them too hard, it might sound like this. So you just have to barely touch them to create that muted sound. And it's just up, down, up, down, up, down, and then Black Hole of Black Hole Sun, the hook of the song. We're going to play open on the G and then open on the A. So now that whole second ending should sound something like this. Again, with measure 9 being the same as measure 7, something like Hear You Scream Again, and muted, up, down, up, down, up, down, black hole. And then we go now to measure 12. Word sun, we're going to play that E flat chord that we played earlier. Middle finger here on 3 of the C, ring finger here on 3 of the E, index here on 1 of the A. Strum through with our thumb there. And then you'll notice a down strum that means to use your index. And there's no word, so a little softer. Louder for sun, softer for the filler. Play the open G string there. And then we're going to play won't. So same deal as before. Pinky finger is going to go on 3 of the A. And we're going to hold everything else there. Then we're going to take the pinky off for the word you, fret 1 on the A. And then we go to the same D sus chord that we played earlier, the 2-2-3-0. So again, you can play it with 3 fingers like this, index, middle, and ring. Or you can use the bar like I do. Both ways work. Strum through with our thumb. But then, a little change. Still playing the same chord. We're just now going to do up, down, up on that chord. And then the last down here on measure 13 is going to be a down on the D chord, which creates a really cool sound, a little more intensity with it. Then we're going to play 2 on the C string, and we can just play that with our middle finger because it's already there. And then we can play the word wash, so this was and then wash. All that we have to do, that middle finger is still there on the 2 of the C, And we add our middle finger here to 2 on the A. Play our G, C, and A strings together. Then we play the open A, so we take that ring finger off. Then take your index and move it to 1 on the E string and play the G, E, and A strings together. Now, I like to leave my middle finger here on the 2 of the C. And the reason for that is because after we played this way, we play the open G for the word the, and then it goes to rain. And this is my favorite chord of the whole song. It's called a B flat add 9, but it also has a 6 in there. It's a really cool sound. And what happens here is this middle finger that was on the 2 of the C can slide up to the 5 of the C. We had our ring finger on 6 of the E and our index here on 3 of the A. And that's the word rain. So if we look at that, just the words "and wash away the rain," it looks something like this, starting with our middle finger on 2C, and wash away the rain. So you see how the middle finger sort of stayed the whole time. So here's that whole stanza, measures 12, 13, 14. Should be something like this. Sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? And as we go now into measures 15, 16, and 17, we're still holding that B flat add 9 chord, and we're going to go up, down on it. Pretty straightforward, nice little strumming fill. And then we're going to play open on the G, and then open on the A. Now, a little funny thing, normally when we play these, the open G and the open A for like black hole, it's normally black hole where the black is faster and the hole is slower. This time it's actually black hole where the hole is faster than black. So if you look at the rhythmic timing there, the word black this time is a quarter note and the word hole is an eighth note, where normally it's reversed. And so just a little important note, if you're trying to get this rhythm timing perfect, a great resource to use is the Guitar Pro file. I make all of these tabs in an application called Guitar Pro. And over at my Patreon page, I actually share the files so that you can download it onto an iPhone, iPad, or Android device, or if you have the full computer software, and it can let you play back the arrangement, change the speed, and hear exactly as it should sound, albeit as a computer playing, but still a very powerful tool. And so we have black hole, and then going to 16, the word sun goes back to this E flat chord. Same chord we've been playing, so middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the C string, ring finger here for 3rd fret of the E string, index on 1 of the A. Play the open G, 3 on the C, filler notes. So sun, and then the word won't is open G, won't. And then 1 on the A, U, and then the word come. And when we go to come there, we're going to play 2 on the two on the G string, open on the C string, 2 on the E string with the middle finger, and open on the A. And that is going to be a D7 chord. And then we're going to play some more filler, 2 on the G, 2 on the E, open on the C, all filler, so nice and soft. And then we're going to play 1 on the A string. It's kind of tricky, right? Because coming off this D7, we don't have a great way of playing it. So we just cross our index down to 1 on the A. And that's won't, and then open E, U. And then come, we're going to play a C chord here. Now there's 2 different ways we can play this. We can use either our 3rd fret on the E string with our middle finger, or that same fret with our ring finger. I like to use the middle finger here because the next chord that's played on measure 18 is going to stack another finger, and I find it easier to stack the ring than the pinky, but both work. And so let's go ahead and hear this now, measures 15, 16, and 17 with the words. So starting on 15, it goes up, down, black hole sun, won't you come, won't you come. And now we go on to 18, and this is it, the home stretch. We're going to play that thing I mentioned before, adding the 3 on the A string with our ring finger here, or if you're playing the 3 on the E with the ring, you add the pinky, but both ways work. Do an up, down, and then the last words of the song, won't you come, we're going to play open on the E, 3 on the E, and we can play that with our ring finger, and then we go to come, and here we go to the D chord 2-2-2-0. So there's two ways to play it, just like we've been talking about. We can either bar across with the A string open and play just our G, C, and E strings, or we can go index on 2 of the G, middle on 2 of the C, and ring on 2 of the E. Still strum the G, C, and E strings just for that, for the word come. And then measure 19 concludes with up, down, up, down, up, down, up, into measure 20, down. And this up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down is really meant to do one of two things. It's either to create more intensity, or it's to dial it way back. And the way that you want to, use this is deciding if you want to end the song here or if you want to repeat. Because if you look at this, the very end here has a repeat after playing the 7 on the E string and the 7 on the G, which is the beginning of the song. All right. So when you do this up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down with the D chord, if you want to repeat, you get louder as you're going through it. And then you'll notice all the 4 X's twice before the 7s. You'll also notice those have no strum markers. So what that means is you're going to actually just take your playing hand and you're going to tap the strings. So instead of strumming, you're just going to tap them with your fingers because you're going into a finger picking for that repeat. All right. So if you want to repeat, you get louder. And we go right back now to measure 1 of the song and repeat it. But let's say that now you're trying to end the song. So you get back to this point for the second time and you want it to end. We can actually ignore those 2 sets of X's as well as the two 7s. And we can just do this D chord and go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and get quieter as we go to actually end the song. So I'm going to play each one of these sort of variations so you can hear it, starting on measure 18. The first one I'm going to do is with the repeat and kind of go back to the beginning of the song. Then I'll stop and I'll play it as if it's the end. So here's if I want to repeat the whole tab. So I'm starting with 18. Won't you come? Right? And you can hear how that intensity sounds really good going into the repeat. But now I'm going to do it as if I want to end the song. That might sound something like this. Won't you come? And I really like that for an ending of the song because, let's face it, there's no great way to end this song because it's built in dissonance and that's sort of the vibe. And so I think ending with this D chord is actually a great way to end it because it doesn't sound as final, just like the song should. So that is Black Hole Sun, the whole arrangement going through. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, if you want to check out the tab for this as well as help vote on next month's tutorial, check out my Patreon page on the link below. Every month I do a different song lesson as well as some other things, and we've been doing it now for a couple of years, so I think we have over 40 tutorials or something crazy like that. All of the tabs are available for download there. If you'd enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Every little bit helps. And also check out the playlist here of my song tutorial series that has every tutorial I've done on my YouTube and Patreon channels. Thank you so much. I'll look forward to seeing you guys next time. I can't wait to see what song you decide next, and take it easy.